Welcome to Action Movie Rewind, where we do deep dives into some of the most prominent, popular action movies of all time here on Mackie and Judd. You can find a full catalog of... We've rebooted the franchise here a few months ago, and you can find a full catalog of the rebooted Action Movie Rewinds on the SKOR North YouTube channel. Just on the homepage, we have them on a playlist for you. And every Friday/Saturday on the Mackie and Judd podcast feed. And gentlemen, we go back to a glorious year in the history of action movies, 1997, Con Air, starring Nicolas Cage and others we'll get to. Before we dive into the summary here, now, Judd, you've seen this before. We did the review on this in original a few years ago.
Yes.
Dex, you've never seen this movie before.
Never seen it until a few days ago.
I can't believe you've never seen this before.
Wow.
Like
I have
this,
takes.
this is so up the Declan alley. I would have thought like your brother would have had you watch it. Or something.
Yeah, you were like a little kid when this movie came out,
I was
weren't
probably
you?
like a 4 or 5 when it came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's the summary. Just paroled Army Ranger Cameron Poe, played by Nicolas Cage, is headed back to his wife, Monica Potter, but must fly home aboard a prison transport flight dubbed Jailbird with some of the worst criminals alive. Along with Diamond Dog and Baby O, genius killer Cyrus the Virus Grissom unleashes a violent escape plot in mid-flight. Secretly working with U.S. Marshal Vince Larkin, Cameron Poe tries to foil Cyrus the Virus's plan. 56% on Rotten Tomatoes. Inexplicably low percentage there.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The critics' consensus on Rotten Tomatoes says this: Con Air won't win any awards for believability, and all involved seem cheerfully aware of it, making some of this blockbuster action outing's biggest flaws fairly easy to forgive.
Yeah, exactly.
$75 million budget turned into $224 million at the box office. Nicolas Cage, Monica Potter, John Malkovich, John Cusack, Dave Chapelle, Ving Rhames, Steve Buscemi, Danny Trejo, all
Great
star
cast,
in
dude.
this
All
movie.
stars.
So good.
So
Ridiculous.
Was Face Off the same year as well? Was Face Off 97?
Yes, it was.
So Nick Cage films in that year alone brought
Dude.
in 500, more than 500.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, so here's the funny thing about this one. This was not even one of the top 10 grossing movies in America in 1997.
97
That's
is a bizarre year.
Let me pull this up here. This is crazy.
Yes.
So 1997. Let me just search by movies by box office revenue, because this is the year that Titanic came out too, if I'm not mistaken.
Still never seen it.
So domestic box for 19. You still never seen Titanic?
I never will either.
I think it's the most overrated film.
Nobody
like,
is
of all
going
time,
to make me
but-
What?
watch that piece of trick. And I like what's his
What is
face,
wrong with you
DiCaprio.
guys?
No,
The
that
Departed
movie's
is
terrible.
magnificent, but I
That
am
movie's
not going to.
awful.
How about this? Titanic came out on December 19th of 1997 and was still the 7th highest grossing film of 1997.
Oh, I believe that. I mean, a lot of people loved it. I just think it's direct.
Men in Black was number 1. That was a
Wow.
July 2nd release.
Wow.
The
That shocks
Jurassic
me,
Park
though.
sequel came out that year.
That makes sense.
Is that
Okay.
number
Dude.
2?
How huge was Jim Carrey? Liar Liar was the third
Oh,
highest
yeah,
grossing
great
film.
movie.
Jim
Really?
Carrey was massive in 1997.
With all those action films?
Yeah, Jim
Oh
Carrey
my
still snuck in there.
God.
Well, but I think like a good comedy in Jim Carrey is going to reach a wider range of people
Probably.
than an action movie.
Wow.
Air Force One was 4th. Star Wars Special Edition came out. Apparently, did they like re-release the original Star Wars or something?
I don't know what that is. I'm a Star Wars nerd.
Wow, you don't?
No.
My Best Friend's Wedding was 6th.
I actually
Titanic 7th.
did
Saw
that.
that in the theater. Yep.
Face Off 8. Batman and Robin.
Oh,
And then
haven't-
George of the Jungle was 10th, just ahead of Con Air. Con Air was 11th, ahead of Hercules. Jerry Maguire also came out.
Oh, great movie.
that was
love
a
Jerry Maguire.
that was a mid-December release, and it's still up here. Scream and Scream 2. Did they both? No. I don't know. One of the Scream movies.
Scream
in
2, right?
1997.
I think
That
Scream
would
2.
be Scream 2,
And
probably.
then there was also a Bond movie. Tomorrow Never
love
Dies
Scream.
came out. Dude, Tomorrow Never Dies came out the same weekend as Titanic. Oh,
Yes.
man.
That's
What a
bad
year.
planning.
So it was George of the Jungle. Was that Brendan Fraser?
Yeah.
Yeah.
George.
I think I saw that in theaters.
George of the Jungle, strong as he can be.
I never saw that, and I
So
never will
ridiculous.
see it.
All right, movie snob. I love how you're like, I'll never see Titanic. I'll never see George of the Jungle. But any Steven Seagal movie from the late
I'm on
80s,
top
early
of that.
90s, it's
I'm on top of Seagal's catalog because I
Cinematic
think it's
excellence.
one of the great catalogs of all time among actors.
some production notes here. So this movie was produced by the legendary and very rich Jerry Bruckheimer. He is the godfather of action movie production. His net worth is $1 billion because of action movies and TV shows. So here's just a... Go ahead.
Oh, I believe, Phil, that he has a stake in your Seattle Kraken, if I am correct.
I think you're right about that.
I think he owns part of the Kraken.
I don't know.
So, big hockey guy.
Here's just a partial resume of movies that he has produced or TV shows in his career. Beverly Hills Cop, all of them. Top Gun, The Rock, Armageddon, Gone in 60 Seconds, Remember the Titans, Pearl Harbor, all of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, the Bad Boys franchise, and the CSI TV franchise. Think about that career.
Oh, it's incredible.
Another production note for you guys. The Con Air soundtrack does not include How Do I Live, which was nominated for an Oscar, or Sweet Home Alabama. Which leads me to the question, why would you buy or be interested in the Con Air soundtrack if it didn't include the two songs that were being played on loop throughout the entire movie?
Yeah.
What other songs were there? I don't know.
So, was How Do I Live, was that a song that was around before that film?
I believe
not
it was written
for it?
I think it was written, well, it might have been written like beforehand, and then they selected it to be featured
Yeah.
Okay.
on the film. So Trisha Yearwood recorded, I think, the Oscar and this movie version.
Okay.
I feel like Leanne Rimes did a version of this song.
Leanne Rimes is
too.
the one that it's known for. Yeah.
Okay.
Speaking of
Trisha Yearwood did the movie edition, and then Leanne Rimes, like, I think, popularized it in music radio. And it was nominated for an Oscar. It was also nominated for a Raspberry as the worst song in a movie. So I don't know how that works.
It's so great.
Anyhow, let's start with Declan here because he's never seen this movie before. We go around the room every episode of Action Movie Rewind and deliver our statements about the movie. So Declan, you're the leadoff hitter. Why don't you?
All right.
You start us off here.
The statement is very simple. This is a phenomenal movie, and I'm so upset at myself for never seeing it.
Yes.
It is so good. Kelsey walked in halfway through, was like, "What is this? Like, what are you watching?" And I was like, "This is like, first off, you're like 50 minutes entry point here. I'm not gonna give you the backstory of what's happened, but an
Kelsey,
amazing
put
movie.
the bunny back in
Kelsey,
the box.
Put the bunny back in the box. Nick Cage with a southern draw is my favorite Nick Cage I have ever heard. The thick southern draw that he has in this movie is my favorite Nick Cage ever. I think it's hilarious. It's like it's so over the top, but it's also like still believable and stuff. I loved this movie from start to finish. It was exhilarating. I have a statement about the early plot that I'll get into in the next round, but overall, I loved this movie. It's incredible.
I'm so happy that Declan. This is
It's
one of my
incredible.
favorite action movies of all time.
It is. It fits our criteria so
It's
well.
so good. It's so good.
But I am gonna. I'll jump in line here because I'm gonna pick something you just said and turn it into my first statement, which is Nicolas Cage should win the award for the absolute worst fake Southern drawl in the history of cinema. It was so bad. This is probably the 50th time I've seen this movie. It is distractingly bad now that I've seen this movie 50 times. Honey, like it's so obviously fake. And why did they even need him to have a drawl?
I don't know.
Because he needed to be Southern. Like, couldn't he have been from some other part of the country?
I've got a theory. I think a large part of this film was a send-up spoof of stuff because I mean that cast is phenomenal. It's a who's who of actors, right?
Absolutely.
And so here's why I think the Cage stuff was a potential send-up of sorts. After seeing Face Off, he's really good in Face Off. Like that guy could act. Like his character was creepy, and then he became the good guy. It's almost like the drawl was purposely bad now. I used to think, oh God, Cage can't act. It's a terrible Southern drawl. But after seeing Face Off, done at the same exact time, basically,
Right.
I wonder if everyone got to have their fun.
I think Con Air may have come out. Let's see here. Did Con Air come out before Face Off? Maybe Face Off came out before.
But it's the same year.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. It was just it's hilarious. It's a
It is.
really to me it's a really bad really bad Southern accent that
It
we've
is.
seen in this one. Anyway, sorry. All right, Judd, go ahead.
So when we did the review the first time, we talked about this, but I think it's worth focusing on again, and that is John Malkovich is the best bad guy I think that we have ever seen in any of these films. AMR's seen some good bad guys, no question about it. But Malkovich, first of all, is an unbelievable actor. He is one of the best. Second of all, that character, just starting with the name, Cyrus the Virus is great. His character is fantastic. No surprise, Malkovich being Malkovich plays the character perfectly. It is it is such an enjoyable role to watch. And there's some great roles, but I really think that of all of the bad guys that we have talked about, covered, and rated, John Malkovich remains number one. It's so good.
And we'll get to the official rating later in the show here, the villain rating. But so he plays Cyrus the Virus in 1997 Con Air, and then a much less viewed movie, but I think it's become such a cult classic. The next year, he plays Teddy KGB in Rounders opposite Matt Damon. Two of the most iconic and best bad guy performances, one an action movie, the other one more of just like a drama, that you'll ever see. So yeah, he's he was on his A game in this movie for sure. All right, Declan.
All right, my next statement is there is no chance, and we don't really explore this much because we just get basically right into him being in prison and then him getting out and him being on the plane, all within like a 20-minute window.
We cover 7 years, yeah.
In like 16 minutes. But
That's great.
Let's break down that little bit for that 16 minutes here, because there is zero chance a Army Ranger who is decorated as him, who is honorably discharged, would get a 10-year prison sentence for manslaughter over some drunken dude at a bar. There is no chance that would happen. I don't even know if he really get in significant legal trouble. The drunk guy. Who is filing the charges on behalf of the drunk guy? Did the bar bouncer do it? Did his other two imbeciles
he killed a guy.
do it? But that's my point though. The guy that he killed, did his wife bring charges upon?
No, I think
Nick Cage?
if someone's dead, if someone's dead, then the district attorney
I guess. But
you don't have. Oh, sorry, you don't have any family, so I guess this murder can't be avenged in court. But I agree with what you're saying, which is, so this dude's outside. He's being harassed by these guys inside and outside. They break bottles and they have knives. They have bottles as knives, and they're going to kill him. They're gonna he is standing up for himself.
Right.
And so why would he get in trouble for this? I get that if you're a boxer or an Army Ranger, then your hands can be classified as lethal weapons in a court of law. But in self-defense, there had to have been a different way to get this guy in prison. But they're trying to show that, he's really a likable, good guy, and he's...
Did you really care, though? Did you really care?
Well, we needed to know that he had a good soul. Otherwise, the movie doesn't make sense.
Correct. But they did it quick. I love, to Declan's point, I love the pace of the start of this film.
Yeah, I do enjoy that part.
God,
That part's
I love
nice.
that. They just got through everything.
Yeah.
And then it's just Con Air.
No chance.
Con Air.
Oh man, there's so many places to go here. Okay, I'm gonna go here. All right, Steve Buscemi's character, despite being a deranged killer,
I love Buscemi.
really makes you think in this movie.
Yes.
Yes.
It's
I
typical
have
Buscemi.
3 quotes from Steve Buscemi's character here that I think I'm going to throw out. Let's just bask in our thoughts here.
Okay.
Love this.
Define irony. A bunch of idiots dancing on a plane to a song made famous by a band that died in a plane crash.
I only recently figured out within the last year that Leonard Skinner most of them died in a plane crash. I did not know that actually. I never knew that. Yeah, it's a great Wikipedia wormhole that I've stumbled upon a few times a year. But yes, that is a excellent first quote, and I love Buscemi in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
He's a font of misplaced rage. Name your cliche. Mother held him too much or not enough. Last picked at kickball. Last night sneaky uncle, whatever. Or late night sneaky uncle, whatever. Now he's so angry, moments of levity actually cause him pain, gives him headaches. Happiness, for that gentleman, hurts.
Yeah, that's
Tormented
great.
soul. What if I told you Insane was working 50 hours a week in some office for 50 years, at the end of the day, or at the end of which they tell you to piss off, ending up in some retirement village before hoping to die, before suffering the indignity of trying to make it to the toilet on time? Wouldn't you consider that to be insane?
I love him in this movie. When he's singing "The Whole World in His Hands" as the plane's going down is like legitimately one of the funniest. I was cracking up pretty good at that.
But
scene.
it's kind of cryptic at the end where he's
Yeah.
just at the craps table standing next to a woman that he's probably going to murder, right?
Yes.
Aren't they foreshadowing like, oh, he's
Yes.
free and he's probably going to make that woman's face a hat?
Yes.
one day it all just clicked.
Yes.
All right, Judd.
So I'll play off that by saying this, and again, this film seemed to understand that it had great actors and like use things because Buscemi's fantastic. But one brilliant thing that they did was, and it was spooky, but it was almost reverse spooky, was when the little girl and Buscemi are in that like abandoned, drained park pool. And he finds her, and you think he's going to kill her. My statement is this. They did a marvelous job. The little girl is creepier than Buscemi's character. The little girl is scarier. Like, she's got sunken eyes, and they do a great job. She's got this look of, like, she's crazy.
For sure a future serial killer herself.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
But the sneaky thing about this film is they did a lot of little things with that cast that I thought were absolutely brilliant. Some of them were funny, and some of them you had to think about a bit, but that's where this film sort of crosses a weird threshold to me of it was like a lot of different things. And it could be campy at times for sure, but it also, I love the fact that the kid was creepier than the villain.
Yeah, this movie, it's funny because this movie was definitely, it was produced for a mass audience. It wasn't like a highbrow film or anything like that, but there's a lot of smart things in this movie.
Yes.
Think about most like brute force action movies, the Schwarzenegger movies from the 80s or Stallone action movies. Mm-hmm. If there was a caged, violent, killing criminal in the back of that plane, and he has X number of kills, and he's being built up as this, boy, if this guy ever gets out, he's going to be terrifying. Mm-hmm. Most of these sort of Neanderthal action movies from the previous 20 years would unleash some steroid, some big galoot guy.
Yep.
And they went the polar opposite when they finally show who this guy is, and it's Steve Buscemi.
Yeah.
I just love it, man. It was smart. It was a great twist, I guess, on the character. I think we're back to Declan here in our statement. Okay.
I'll go with this one. Dave Chapelle deserves better in this film.
It's great death. I love his death.
I hated his death. I thought his death was lame. I wanted something a little bit more, and he just gets screwed up by the landing gear basically, and somehow gets back up into the plane. I didn't see how he necessarily got back inside the plane. I just thought he got
caught
ran
in
over.
the gear.
Yeah.
It killed him, and then he got launched up into the belly of the plane.
The song that was playing, I think it was A Summer Place by Percy Faith, that instrumental song in the old couple's car. It reminded me of that Family Guy scene where the guy is outside and he's stomping around in the mud, and it says Hiroshima, Japan, 1945.
How could this day get any worse?
He gets splashed with mud. Oh my gosh, how could this day get any worse? And
Yeah.
like, oh, a bird pooped on my windshield. Oh, this always happens.
Yeah,
How could this get
amazing.
any worse? And Dave Chappelle falls.
Poor Dave
Pinball, man.
Chappelle. I loved it. I loved, and he is the one that opens the riot. Basically, he's the one who gets Cyrus the Virus to basically get unleashed because he sets the guy on fire. As someone who loves Dave Chappelle, he is the celebrity I probably have the most unhealthy love for the most. That everyone has their celebrity obsession. I love me some Dave Chappelle. I saw him live a few weeks ago. I've seen him live now twice. I'll do anything in my power to see him if he's ever here. But I thought my guy Dave Chappelle deserved a better fate in this movie.
I love when he lights the guy on fire and then he starts screaming like, "Man, what is this guy?
What
This guy just spontaneously combusted."
Busted. Oh man,
It's hilarious. All right, I think we need to dive into sort of the end of the movie here. There's a couple things to nitpick. I'll start with this one. I don't understand why or how Cameron Poe's wife and little girl wound up on the Vegas Strip to meet him after all of the things that happened leading up to it. So,
Well,
why were they like being flown to the? So this plane is crashing like on the Vegas Strip. You have no idea where it's coming from. So they're just being driven out in some SUV to the Vegas Strip while the plane crashes. And then wouldn't you want to give Cameron Poe, I don't know, 5 minutes to be checked out by the police and security?
Cameron Poe
Maybe
is
take
fine.
a shower.
He's got like a little
get
abrasion on his
stitched up.
forehead. He's got
Yeah.
like a small abrasion.
Wouldn't
So
we need
wait-
to know too that he didn't commit crimes on the plane? Because all these guys would be arrested for taking over the plane. So wouldn't there be a
They're
court
all
proceeding of like he was one of the guys on the plane involved in this?
Where
Wouldn't
was he going home
I'm assuming
to?
he's violating parole by being a part of this. You know,
Where was he going home to?
Alabama, right?
I don't know where they were supposed to be going. And like he was catching a ride. So was it going to?
Well, they were landing. I can't remember where they
Carson
were supposed
City
to land.
was Carson City, Nevada. That was the first place they were going to land. And then I looked it up to Carson City to Vegas, like a flight, just a flight is like 90 minutes. Like they're on the
Okay.
polar opposites of Nevada. So to your point of how did his wife and kid get there? Like, did they fly with John Cusack?
They
Like, did
definitely
drive?
they had a flight at one point. One of the U.S. Marshals told them, "Hey, we have a plane ready for you." But at that point,
right.
so the wife and the daughter are sitting in the office waiting for Cameron Poe to arrive, and of course the marshal guy goes, "There's been a slight disturbance or a slight problem." It's like, dude, it ain't slight. The plane was taken over by convicts. Why would they not just stay in the office or stay in a hotel? Why do they need to like get on a plane and try and follow Cameron Poe's plane around? And if you're Cameron Poe, again, do you really want to meet your daughter for the first time, bloodied?
So
You know,
Cusack,
burns all over your arms and stuff. It just
Cusack's character told his subordinates what to do as far as trying to get them there. I feel like that probably existed, and they decided it was too long and hacked it out of the film. Because like it just sort of happens at the end. My guess is that scene existed, like how and why, and they basically said screw
they
it.
trimmed 15 minutes out of the movie.
And you know what? God bless them for that. 203. 203 was perfect. I was very happy with
my
that.
version was 155. I don't know what version. What 8 minutes did you get to see that I didn't get to
I
see?
thought I looked up the runtime. I thought it said 203.
Oh, maybe Judd saw 8 extra minutes.
Am I next?
I think so.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to give credit here. 1997. And we have reviewed a bunch of films, and a consistent criticism of mine has been special effects. The special effects in this film are good. They hold up for the most part. They're not that campy. The Vegas Strip scene is actually pretty good.
Yeah, well, that's
Yeah.
actually how they destroyed the Stardust in the teardown. They actually landed a plane full of convicts, and they killed two
Killed them
birds with
all.
one stone. They filmed a great movie
And
scene,
killed a bunch of
and they
convicts.
destroyed the Stardust. It was great.
All I know is I have consistently complained about the quality of special effects around this time, and I still think for this film it's pretty good.
What did you
Really
think of the
solid.
scene where there's an explosion happening and Nicolas Cage is clearly running in slow motion? He's not running. It's not like full speed and they're
Yes.
slowing it down. He's actually running in slow motion.
It's not as bad as the boat blowing up in Face Off, where Travolta and Cage are clearly in front of a green screen and going like this,
Oh, no. Yeah.
and then they're like, "Yeah, the boat blew up." You're like, "No, the boat didn't."
Oh, that's hilarious. Declan.
Let's see here. Where was my next? Oh yeah, my next statement. This seems like an awful lot just to get to your daughter's birthday party. There is an awful lot going on from
never
Nic
seen
Cage.
her before, dude.
Just to get. I know that, but this is an awful lot of steps just to give this little girl a bunny and make it to the birthday party.
Well, but it's for him. These are okay. I'm going to piggyback off you here, all right? Because I think let's go in tandem here, Shark Tank style on this take. It would have been a shorter movie, but Cameron Poe should have just gotten off the plane.
Yeah.
When?
Just get off the plane, dude. What do you mean when they stopped? They were going to allow people to get off the plane.
No.
Cyrus the Virus was pushing people to get off the plane.
Yeah, but he was not going to leave his friends behind.
That's
That
what I'm
was the whole
saying.
purpose.
That's what I'm saying.
But
Just
he
get
was a
off the
good
plane,
guy.
dude.
But he was a good guy. They
Go
established
see your
that.
daughter, dude. You've been in jail
go
for
see your
7
daughter.
years.
There's
Go be
a
a good.
woman-
Go be a good father.
Baby
You're
girl,
gonna
sorry.
protect these killers and these.
But
Yeah.
he said, I'm not going to allow my friend to be killed here.
But I'm going to allow my daughter to potentially go
can wait.
without a father again for the rest of her life because I'm on this death wish mission.
At least it tracked. Look, I love this film. I'm not going to criticize
I love it
was a
too.
great-
No
I'm
one's
just-
criticizing the film. I'm criticizing Cameron Poe's personal decision to
Yes.
prioritize
But-
the people on that plane over his own family
But
when
that's
given
what makes
a
him a
chance.
great guy. That's what made him a ranger of
No man
great-
left behind.
No man. Yes, he said, I'm not going to allow. He was not going to allow the female guard or his friend to be left behind.
I love how
admire that
Judd
about
got
Cameron Poe.
personally offended that we were ripping the movie. No, I love the movie too, but I'm ripping his personal choice.
I know, but that's what explained the film was what existed in Cameron Poe's heart to save them.
I think Cameron Poe is being put on a bit of a pedestal here. Okay, I think Cameron Poe is a guy with more of like a vindictive rage problem.
He's got a temper.
I think it was more about wanting to stick it to Cyrus the Virus and these guys because he always has to get the last laugh in the fight. Like it's the same reason why he didn't just get in the car at the beginning of the movie. Dude, you don't have to fight everyone. Just live your life, be with your family, be a good father. You don't have to wind up in jail for 7
He
years.
was about to be jumped. And that man took out a knife.
Judd, back to you.
What was he supposed to do? All right, wardrobe. I'd like to touch on wardrobe here. John Cusack's suit that he wears the entire film is perhaps one of the greatest odes to the 90s that exists in any film right now. I love the oversized, too big, baggy, but yet stylish suit. That is a great suit.
Yeah, it looked like one of those Michael Jordan walk into the arena 1996, 97 suits for
It's
sure.
almost like shoulder pads, right? It's
Yeah.
not, but it's like, I mean, but that thing is it's hanging from him.
Yeah.
And this was considered at the time a good look.
Yep. The interaction and byplay between John Cusack's Marshall character and the DEA guy was also great throughout this movie.
Yes.
And the guy's car getting destroyed at the very end, and
I didn't really like that car. That's
You
what
like
he
I
the
thought
car?
that guy would get killed.
That's what the guy said when he realized that his car was
Yeah.
taxied off.
Oh,
with
at the end, it
plane.
becomes a
I didn't really
joke.
like that.
I was
yeah.
tired of that
I didn't
car
really like that
anyway.
car. I didn't really like it.
of course you were. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, back to Declan.
I'm out of statements for this one, but I did not know. Did you guys know this when we didn't do this in our production notes? But the C-123 plane. So I think that's the one that like is used as jailbird. I believe like that's the jailbird plane. That was like still a legitimate plane, and it was sold to like another airline in 2010, and the plane crashed and like got destroyed in Alaska and killed like all the 3 members that were on
Yeah.
board. So like that plane.
Really?
Yeah.
Was yes, I was like my mind was blown. It's
like a few years later.
Wikipedia. Yeah, yeah,
Terrifying.
absolutely freaky.
That piece of crap flew?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my God.
I have one last statement here. It's see where you guys want to take this, but again, I love this movie, but I need to know what the conversation was like that led to the extra chase scene at the end involving the fire truck in Las Vegas. So here's this whole movie. It ends in a fiery like a plane crashing on the Vegas Strip, and we've had all of this action and explosion throughout the whole movie. And someone came in, Bruckheimer, whoever it was, and said, "Not good enough.
Yep.
We need 20 more minutes.
Yep.
We need one more massive, mildly unrealistic chase scene.
Yep.
It needs to be on the Vegas Strip because it needs to be as big as possible. We need more." And by the way, that plane crash didn't really kill. It killed a couple people, but a plane crashing at full speed on the Vegas Strip and into different casinos and hotels and signage clearly wouldn't kill everyone. So we
It
need
wouldn't
another
blow
way
up.
to kill some people. Yeah.
The fuel wouldn't ignite.
Let's get Cyrus the Virus up on a ladder, running into a skyway of some kind, and then landing on the ground, still not fully dead, and then have some sort of like, I don't even know what you call that, but like a metal compressor thing that crushes his face. How high and drunk were these guys coming up with the last 15 minutes of this movie from the Las Vegas Strip is my question.
I'm going to take an educated guess, and I am going to guess that there's a very good chance that last scene was the first thing that they wrote and then backed in and said, okay, how can we get there?
Yeah.
Because I don't think you come up with the like. I think you come up with when you're high and drunk. I think you write this great scene or envision it, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, it's going to end on the Vegas Strip, and we're going to take out casinos, and we're going to do this and that, and then the next day, they probably wake up and say, "That was a great idea, but how do we get there?"
Yeah, no, you're probably right.
And then you start to write it backwards.
I think you're probably right. All right, so I'm out of statements. Judd, you got anything else here before we get to the rankings?
I got one last one. I'd like to tie this in with, as you said before, another 1997 classic that we did a couple weeks ago, Air Force One. What is the one common theme? And I know it's fun, but it might be the most unrealistic thing that those two films did, of having fights in airplanes with a large door open in the airplane and people don't fall out.
Yes.
Yeah, like you would be instantly sucked out on Air Force One or Con Air. You would be, when that hatch is open, it's not just a little door. You would be instantly sucked out.
Yes.
Everyone would be sucked out. They'd all be dead. This whole thing of like staging a fight, and you can see the ground and everyone's just fighting away. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen, and those two films did the exact same thing.
Yeah, no, it's hilarious. It was definitely a mid to late 90s action movie trope of some kind to make sure that you get that plane door open. So, all right, before we get into the rankings here, we have two ranking categories, the definitive villain rating and then the entertainment value rating here. Let's shout out our friends that are helping keep our lakeside areas clean all summer. Aquaside, Declan.
Yeah, shout out to my friends at Aquaside. We still got a good amount of summer left, and I'm not ready to get the countdown to summer going. So make sure that the Aquaside can help you get that lake home or that pond you have on your property. Removing of all of that nasty lake weed and algae you step on. There's nothing worse, right? There's nothing worse than you're trying to enjoy your summer. You're enjoying a nice beverage. You jump off the dock, you jump off the boat, the pontoon, whatever it is, and you step into that lake weed and algae. It's just the worst. Aquaside pellets can help take care of that. It's a safe product too. It's registered with the EPA and the DNR. They're located in the Twin Cities in White Bear Lake, or you can order them online at aquaside.com. Aquaside.com.
Also, hello to our friends at Federated Mutual Insurance Company. So Federated has been around for over 100 years helping businesses with risk management tools and resources. And they believe that face-to-face, eye-to-eye contact, which fosters long-term relationships built on trust, is the right way to go about business. That's the Federated way. And you can find out how they can help your business at federatedinsurance.com, where it's our business to protect yours. Okay. To this point, in the reboot of Action Movie Rewind, here are the villains that we've ranked. Castor Troy from Face Off is a 9 out of 10. Dom Toretto from Fast and the Furious, 8.2. The aliens from Independence Day are a 7.8. Surfer Bodie from Point Break is a 7.3. The F5 Tornadoes from Twister are a 6.3. Terrorist Igor from Air Force One is a 6.3. Senator Trent from Hard to Kill is a 3.3. And the British-loving gangster from a British car-loving gangster, the British-loving gangster, from Gone in 60 Seconds is a 1.3. So we're looking on a scale of 1 to 10 here, with criteria being how iconic is the villain, how ruthless is the villain, how charismatic is the villain. Cyrus the Virus from Con Air.
10. He's a 10. I rarely award 10s, but I believe that when we did this exercise the first time with Con Air, I gave him a 10. That has not changed. Malkovich, it is a tour de force from John Malkovich. He's a 10.
I think Judd's right. I think it's a 10. I mean, just the name alone, Cyrus the Virus. And he's not like a brawny, right? Like, he's not big. He's not as scary as you would think just looking at him before he talks, and then you kind of realize, like, oh my God, this guy is very like calculated. He's a great leader too. He gets all these people to follow his plan and whatnot. So he's a great leader. He's charismatic. Yes, it's a 10. I think it's a 10.
I agree. It's a 10. It's a 10. It's the first 10 across the board here in the reboot of Action Movie Rewind. I will say, so he's a genius, brutal killer who has spent 25 of his 39 years on Earth in jail, killed 11 fellow inmates while in jail, and just cold-blooded murdered multiple people point-blank range in this movie. But he does stand up for women. What an interesting character, right? He defended the woman security guard or police officer on the plane. So he does draw a line with his ruthlessness. He's very ruthless, but he does draw a line, respect for women. But it's a 10 out of 10. So that makes him the best villain that we have rated so far. Entertainment value, 1 through 10 scale. How entertaining was this movie? Top Gun Maverick is a 9.3 for us. Independence Day was an 8.7. Fast and the Furious, 8.5. Top Gun, 8.3. Air Force One, 8.2. Face Off, an 8. Point Break, 7.8. Twister, 6.7. Hard to Kill, a 5. Gone in 60 Seconds, 4.7.
This film meets, again, every criteria. It's a 10.
Wow.
I'm going to slide in here and keep some suspense. It's a 10 for me, too. It's one of my favorite action movies of all time.
It's really good.
It's
the
a
first
9.
time Declan's
I'm not,
ever
I'm
seen-
not,
Oh,
I'm not bucking.
no!
No, it's a 9. It's a 9. I'm not bucking. I'm not bucking the trend. I'm not being convinced. No, I can't. It's a good. It's a really, really good movie. I loved it, and I'm gonna watch it again. And if it was on, I definitely stop and rewatch it.
What's stopping you? What stopped you from the extra point?
It's long. There's gigantic plot holes right at the beginning of this movie.
I don't care. About
I don't really. I question some of the tactics by Nic Cage too. In general, it's good. It's above good. It's just not 10. It's not a 10 for me.
I honestly think it meets everything that I asked for in this entire AMR series.
It is
Because
a 9.
I mean, it's got huge
Cast,
plot
villain,
holes. It's got huge plot holes. I don't care.
excitement.
And by the way, if they cut out scenes for time that created plot holes, Jerry Bruckheimer, good for you.
Bravo. So that makes it a 9.7. Still the best action movie that we have reviewed here since rebooting the franchise.
So it's 9.7 for this, and what's Top Gun?
Top Gun Maverick was a 9.3. So I
Okay.
believe we had 2 9s and a 10. I think I gave it a 10, and you guys
gave it a
each gave
10.
it a 9.
Yeah, that was a 9.
And so it is very solidly the best movie that we have reviewed so far. So there's a couple. What's the new one coming out with Brad Pitt again, Dex?
Bullet Train.
So we're gonna do Bullet Train at some point here in the next couple weeks, but we're gonna give it. I'm traveling a little bit, and so we're gonna give it some time for people to see in theaters. But we're definitely gonna do that one.
Camp. I'm busy too.
You got Vikings
yeah.
training camp going on.
I got a lot going on. A lot on my plate.
But we're gonna throw it back here. I think I'm looking at some of the movies we did the first iteration of Action Movie Rewind when we were doing it on the radio before Declan was producing for us, and I believe one of the ones that we did before Declan produced for us is Bloodsport.
That was the first
did
one
that
we
with
ever
you.
did.
with Declan.
Yeah, I
No,
think
no,
I was-
that-
No,
that
Declan
was
did
first
not do
one.
this. It was you, me, Rami, and Jonathan
And
did it.
it was our first one, and you were very disappointed by the grades.
By
that
from
it
you
got
guys,
outside
yeah.
of yourself, and you'll be disappointed again.
we did Bloodsport.
We did it, but you didn't do it.
No, I think we
No,
did.
no.
Which John Claude Van Damme one did we do then? We
Kickboxer.
did
Kickboxer.
Kickboxer. Okay.
And
gotcha.
and look, they're all the same. Don't get me
Yeah. That's where
wrong.
I was. The action movie is him kicking someone. So I was like, is this the same thing we've done? So that's where I was. I thought we did it.
We
Not that
go
can
from
do
the
it now.
highs of the high to Bloodsport. Okay, let's do it.
Bloodsport. But Bloodsport is one of the biggest like cult favorite action movies. It's still
it's-
on TV rotation on a monthly
yeah.
basis. So we'll do Bloodsport, throw it back to the late 80s, and then maybe we'll do and we have to get back into our Fast and Furious. We should do like one Fast and Furious a month just to play catch up
Declan
on
said to
those.
skip. Which ones
So,
should we skip?
People have
and-
chimed in on this,
no,
and
no,
we should
yeah.
not be skipping these movies.
Here's the thing. So yes, Tokyo Drift is the one to skip. That was the third one released, and you could skip that one. You could
Okay.
skip that one. The second one has nothing to do with the Torettos. The Torettos are not involved at all in the second one. Tyrese Gibson's involved, and then Tyrese also gets back into the fold like in the fifth or sixth iteration of Fast. So there's like two different storylines that happen. In like the second one has nothing to do with the first one. But we could do Too Fast, Too Furious.
I think
can
we
do
should
it.
do at least the second one at some point, and then
Okay.
and then we can decide from there.
I love how this becomes very complicated.
So Bloodsport for next week, boys, and then we'll go from there. Action Movie Rewind, where we do deep dives into some of the most popular action movies of all time on Mackie and Judd.